In the stark, beautiful landscape of Utah, west of Utah Lake, lies a geological feature that for decades drew adventurers into the depths of the earth. Nutty Putty Cave. It wasn't a grand, cavernous system like Carlsbad or Mammoth, but a different kind of challenge altogether. Known for its labyrinthine and notoriously tight passages, it was a proving ground for spelunkers, attracting around 5,000 visitors each year. From curious college students to seasoned Boy Scout troops. Its name, given by its discoverer Dale Green in 1960, came from the soft, brown, putty-like clay found in many of its passages, a substance that hinted at the cave's unique and treacherous nature. The cave's creation story is one of immense time and pressure. It was formed not by a simple underground river, but through a complex hydrothermal process. Over millions of years, superheated, acidic groundwater was forced upward through fissures in the Mississippian period limestone. This water dissolved the rock from below, carving out a network of tunnels, chambers, and constrictions that defy easy navigation. The result was a disorienting three-dimensional maze, with passages that twisted back on themselves, dropped into sudden voids, or narrowed to impossibly small apertures. This geological history made the cave both a marvel and a menace. Its unpredictable layout had led to numerous incidents over the years, with several cavers becoming trapped and requiring rescue. In 2006, after a series of high-profile rescues, authorities closed the cave to the public, fearing a major tragedy was inevitable. However, after implementing a new management system with a gate and a required reservation process, it was reopened in May of 2009, just 6 months before it would become infamous. For many who explored Nutty Putty, the ultimate test was a passage known as the Birth Canal. It was a challenging but navigable squeeze that required cavers to inch their way through a tight, twisting corridor before being reborn into a larger chamber. Successfully navigating it was a badge of honor, a story to be told. It was this specific challenge that drew a young man back to the caves he'd explored in his youth. On the evening of November 24th, 2009. During the Thanksgiving holiday week, 26-year-old John Edward Jones arrived at Nutty Putty Cave with a group of 11 friends and family members. For John, this was a nostalgic return to a cherished pastime, a chance to reconnect with his brother Josh and share an adventure before the holiday festivities began. John was a man with a brilliant future ahead of him. A second-year medical student at the University of Virginia, he was driven by a profound passion for helping others, with his heart set on becoming a pediatric cardiologist. At 6 feet tall, he was warm, charismatic, and known for his deep sense of responsibility and infectious good humor. His life was full. He was devoted to his wife, Emily, and their 13-month-old daughter, Lizzie. They were joyfully awaiting the arrival of their second child, a son, due the following June. Life was a whirlwind of study, family, and faith, and this trip was a welcome moment of recreation and bonding. John was no stranger to caving. He and his brother Josh had spent much of their youth exploring the underground world of Utah with their father. He was confident in his abilities, but it had been several years since his last spelunking trip. He was now older, and his athletic 200-pound frame was larger than it had been in his teenage caving days. This confidence, coupled with his long absence from the sport, would prove to be a fateful combination. Around 8 p.m., with the cold night air settling over Utah, John and his group descended into the earth. The mood was light, filled with excitement and laughter as their headlamps cut through the subterranean darkness. After exploring some of the main sections of the cave for about an hour, John's adventurous spirit took over. He was determined to find the legendary Birth Canal. He and his brother Josh split off from the main group, venturing deeper into a less-traveled area of the cave known as the Scout Eater. While searching for his goal, John identified a narrow, vertical fissure that seemed to match descriptions of the Birth Canal's entrance. Believing this was the passage, he moved to enter it headfirst, using his chest, stomach, and hips to propel himself forward and down into the tight opening. But he had made a critical, tragic error. This was not the Birth Canal. He had entered an unmapped dead-end passage, a hook-shaped crevice later nicknamed Bob's Push. and it did not open up. It only got tighter. John slid down until his chest was constricted by the narrowest point of the passage, an opening just 10 inches wide and 18 inches high. He exhaled to squeeze through, but the rock held him fast. When he tried to inhale again, the pressure on his chest was immense. He tried to wriggle backward, but gravity and the acute angle of the passage worked against him. He was trapped, pinned upside down, 150 feet below the surface and 400 feet from the cave entrance. His brother Josh was the first to realize the gravity of the situation. He grabbed John's calves and tried to pull, but John only slid deeper into the wedge, the fine rock dust acting like a lubricant. Panic set in. Josh knew he couldn't free him alone. In a heart-wrenching moment, he had to leave his brother alone in the suffocating darkness, promising to return with help. Josh scrambled out of the cave and made the desperate call for help. The first 911 call was logged at 9:30 p.m. The Utah County Sheriff's Office immediately mobilized its search and rescue team, a group all too familiar with the dangers of Nutty Putty Cave. The first rescuer to reach John around 12:30 a.m. was a volunteer named Susie Matola. She had to crawl and squeeze her way 400 feet into the cave to get to him. When she finally saw his boots protruding from the rock, she called out. John responded, his voice strained. "Hi, Susie, thanks for coming," he said, "but I really want to get out." Soon the area around the cave entrance transformed into a massive staging ground. Over the next 24 hours, approximately 137 rescuers from various agencies would descend on the site, a testament to the complexity and severity of the situation. The rescuers knew they were in a race against time, not just against the rock, but against John's own physiology. Being trapped upside down is one of the most dangerous situations imaginable. Gravity relentlessly pulls blood into the head, while the heart struggles to pump it back out, leading to extreme cardiovascular strain. His lungs were being crushed by the weight of his own organs, making every breath a monumental effort. Positional asphyxia was an imminent and deadly threat. The rescue plan was audacious. They would establish a sophisticated rope and pulley system, anchored to the surrounding rock, to try and pull John out feet first, but the cave fought them at every turn. The walls were composed of soft, crumbly calcite, making it incredibly difficult to set secure anchors. The space was so confined that rescuers could only work one at a time in exhausting shifts, drilling and rigging in the cramped, dusty darkness. Desperate options were considered. They discussed using small pneumatic air hammers to chip away at the rock around him, but the vibrations could have caused a collapse or shifted John into an even worse position. At one point, they even debated the horrific choice of breaking his legs to free him, but the immense shock and pain would have almost certainly triggered a fatal cardiac arrest. The pulley system was their only viable hope. Throughout the ordeal, John remained remarkably calm, showing more concern for his rescuers than for himself. To keep his spirits up, they managed to set up a radio connection, allowing him to speak with his wife, Emily, who was waiting anxiously at the surface. He told her he loved her and that he was going to get out and come back to her and their family. She sang him a lullaby over the radio, a moment of profound love and tenderness amidst the unfolding horror. For a time, there was hope. The team managed to attach the ropes to a harness on John and, with great effort, pulled him up several feet. He was high enough to be given food and water. A wave of optimism swept through the rescue team, but then disaster struck. The primary anchor point, drilled into the soft calcite, suddenly failed under the immense strain. The rope went slack, and with a sickening jolt, John slid all the way back down into the narrowest part of the crevice, landing even more tightly wedged than before. The psychological blow was devastating. John knew, and the rescuers knew, that their best chance had just failed. His condition began to worsen rapidly. His breathing became shallow and sporadic. He started to lose consciousness. The rescuers, who had fought tirelessly for hours on end, were forced to accept the grim reality. After 27 agonizing hours trapped upside down, John's heart, under unimaginable strain for far too long, finally gave out. Just before midnight on Wednesday, November 25, 2009, John Jones was pronounced dead. The rescue operation became a recovery mission, but even that proved impossible. The risk of sending more people into the unstable passage to retrieve his body was deemed too great. After consulting with his grieving family, who did not want another life risked, authorities made the difficult decision to seal the cave permanently. Nutty Putty Cave became John's final resting place, a tomb and a memorial. His family remembered him not for his tragic end, but for the life he lived. A life defined by his deep faith, his unwavering love for his family, his infectious sense of humor, and his profound desire to help others. His son, who he never had the chance to meet, was born the following summer and named John in his honor. The story of John Jones is a heartbreaking reminder of the unforgiving power of nature, but it is also a story of immense bravery, of the selfless rescuers who risked everything, and of a family's enduring love in the face of unimaginable loss.